I was about to reveal my $1 billion net worth to my husband. Then I overheard his phone call that froze me. My name is Victoria Hayes, and I'm 36 years old. Most people who meet me assume I'm just another woman working in nonprofit consulting, living comfortably but unremarkably in Seattle. What they don't know is that I'm the sole heir to the Hayes pharmaceutical empire, a fortune my grandmother built from a single patent into a billion-dollar legacy. When Grandma Rose passed 3 years ago, she left me everything. Not just money, but her life's work, her vision, her relentless spirit. The lawyers read the will in that sterile conference room, and I remember staring at the number $1.2 billion, feeling like I'd been handed both wings and chains. I made a choice that day. I would never lead with my wealth. I'd seen what happened to my cousin Jennifer when word got out about her inheritance. Suddenly, she couldn't tell who genuinely cared and who saw dollar signs. Her engagement fell apart when she discovered her fiancé had Googled her family name before their second date. So I buried it. I used my middle name professionally, kept my grandmother's empire at arm's length, and lived like someone with a comfortable trust fund, not a pharmaceutical dynasty. That's how I met Marcus. Marcus Rivera walked into my life at a community fundraiser for homeless youth. He was volunteering, serving food with rolled-up sleeves and genuine warmth. He was a high school teacher, passionate about literature, the kind of man who quoted poetry without pretension and stayed late to tutor struggling students. We talked for hours that night about everything except money. He told me about growing up in a working-class family in Tacoma, about his mother who cleaned houses to put him through college, about why teaching mattered more to him than a corporate salary ever could. I fell hard. Not for status or wealth or connections, but for authenticity. For the first time in my adult life, someone saw just Victoria, the woman who volunteered at animal shelters, who cried during sad movies, who could spend entire Sundays hiking without makeup or pretense. Our wedding was small and intimate. I wore my grandmother's simple pearl necklace, the only piece of jewelry that mattered. We bought a modest house in a quiet neighborhood, nothing ostentatious. Marcus was proud of providing for us on his teacher's salary, and I let him feel that pride while quietly managing investments he knew nothing about. For 4 years, I played the role. I told him my grandmother left me some money, enough that I could work part-time in consulting. He never pressed for details. He trusted me, and every day, that trust felt like both a gift and a lie pressing against my chest. But secrets corrode even the strongest foundations. And last month, I finally decided I couldn't carry this weight anymore. I needed to trust him with the truth. It was a rainy Tuesday evening in November. The kind of Seattle rain that whispers against windows and makes you want to curl up by the fire. I'd rehearsed my speech 100 times. Marcus, there's something about my family I haven't been fully honest about. I poured myself a glass of wine for courage and climbed the stairs to our bedroom. My heart hammered. This was it. Tonight, I'd finally stop hiding. Then I heard his voice through the half-open bedroom door. Low, intimate, tender, in a way that made my stomach drop. I know, baby. I know it's hard. Just a few more months, I promise. I froze on the landing. He wasn't talking to me. I'd been downstairs the whole time. She has no clue, he continued, his laugh soft and cruel. Victoria trusts me completely. It's actually kind of sad how naive she is. My hand found the wall to steady myself. The wine glass trembled. Look, her grandmother was loaded, okay? I did my research before I even talked to her at that fundraiser. Hayes Pharmaceuticals. Victoria Hayes. It wasn't hard to connect the dots. She tries to hide it, but I've seen the statements she thinks are buried in her desk. I stopped breathing. Once I get her to add me to some of those accounts, once we've been married long enough that I'm entitled to half in a divorce, we're gone. You and me, Isabella, we'll finally be together. She's my investment, My ticket out of this middle-class trap. Investment. Ticket. Trap. The words carved into me like broken glass. Yeah. I know I have to keep playing the devoted husband. It's exhausting, honestly. All that pretending to care about her boring charity work and her emotional talks about trust and connection. But it'll be worth it. We're talking hundreds of millions, Izzy. Maybe more. He laughed again, and this time I heard Isabella's voice through his phone speaker. Tinny and delighted. I can't wait, baby. We'll travel the world. First class everything. You've earned this. I really have. Marcus agreed. 4 years of playing house with someone I don't even love. That's dedication. I backed away from the door, silent as a ghost. My legs carried me down the stairs, through the kitchen, out to the garden where the rain soaked through my sweater, but I barely felt it. 4 years. 4 years of what I thought was love. 4 years of his smile across the breakfast table, his hand in mine during movies, his whispered I love yous in the dark. All of it. Performance. Research. Investment strategy. I didn't cry. Something in me had frozen solid, turned to steel. I thought about my grandmother Rose, who'd built an empire from nothing, who'd survived betrayals in business that would have destroyed lesser people. She'd taught me to be strong. She'd taught me that sentiment was beautiful, but survival required clarity. And now, standing in the rain, I had absolute clarity. Marcus thought I was naive, clueless. A ticket. He had no idea what he'd just unleashed. The next morning, I smiled at Marcus over coffee. I asked about his day, laughed at his jokes, kissed him goodbye at the door. Inside, I was someone else entirely. Someone calculating. Someone dangerous. I have some meetings this week. I mentioned casually. Estate planning stuff. Boring. He barely looked up from his phone. Sure, babe. Whatever you need. But those meetings were with my grandmother's attorney, Gerald Stockton, the silver-haired shark who'd protected the Hayes fortune for 40 years. Victoria, he said gravely, when I played him the recording I'd made on my phone the night before. We need to act immediately. And we did. Every joint account was quietly restructured. The house, which Marcus assumed we co-owned, had actually been purchased through a Hayes family trust, his name nowhere on the deed. My grandmother had insisted on an ironclad prenuptial agreement before the wedding, disguised as simple legal formality. Marcus had signed it without reading, too in love, or so he pretended, to care about legal details. Now that prenup would be his undoing. I became a master of deception. At night, when Marcus thought I was asleep, I listened to him whisper to Isabella through bathroom doors. I documented everything. Dates, times, conversations. I hired a private investigator who confirmed what my heart already knew. Weekly hotel visits, restaurant receipts, an entire shadow life built on my supposed ignorance. She actually thinks I'm at teacher conferences, he told Isabella one night, laughing. She's so trusting, it's almost boring. I lay in bed, eyes open in the dark, and felt nothing but cold resolve. Marcus kept waiting for his moment. He'd drop hints about our future, about building something together, clearly trying to maneuver me toward adding his name to accounts. I played along, nodding thoughtfully, saying things like, maybe we should talk about our financial future. His eyes would light up. He thought he was winning. He had no idea the trap was already set. 6 weeks later, I told Marcus I wanted to throw an early celebration for our 5th wedding anniversary, something special at the Hayes family estate, a sprawling property overlooking Puget Sound that I'd told him belonged to a distant cousin. Really? His face lit up with genuine excitement, or rather, excitement about access. That's amazing, Vic. I'd love to see where you grew up. I think it's time to stop hiding parts of my life from you, I said softly. Time to share everything. He kissed me, and I let him, feeling nothing but disgust. The night of the party, the estate glowed with lights. I'd invited everyone. Marcus's colleagues from the school, my real colleagues from Hayes Pharmaceuticals, my grandmother's old business associates, and Gerald Stockton with his briefcase full of truth. Marcus worked the room like a politician, charming and confident. He squeezed my hand, whispered in my ear about how proud he was of me. I watched him perform and marveled at his skill. After dinner, I stood, crystal glass in hand, and called for attention. "Thank you all for coming," I began, my voice steady. "Tonight is about truth, about revealing who we really are." Marcus beamed, thinking his moment had finally arrived. I pulled out a small remote. 5 weeks ago, I overheard something that changed my life. The screens around the room flickered to life. Marcus's voice filled the hall. "She has no clue. Victoria trusts me completely. It's actually kind of sad how naive she is." The room erupted. Gasps, murmurs, shocked faces turning toward Marcus, whose expression had collapsed into pure horror. The recording continued, each damning word echoing through the stunned silence. His plan, his contempt, his admission that our entire marriage was research. When it ended, I turned to face him directly. "You called me naive, Marcus. You called me your ticket. But you made one critical mistake." I gestured to the people around us, to the estate, to everything he'd misunderstood. "I'm not just Victoria Hayes with some money from my grandmother. I'm the sole heir to Hayes Pharmaceuticals. My net worth is $1.2 billion. The room exploded into shocked exclamations. Even those who knew my family name hadn't known I was the heir. Marcus's face went white, then red, cycling through disbelief, rage, and desperate calculation. "And you," I continued, pulling an envelope from my clutch, "will never touch a single cent of it." I laid the divorce papers on the table between us. "You wanted to use me as an investment? Consider this your return." "Nothing." Gerald stepped forward, his presence commanding. "Mr. Rivera signed a comprehensive prenuptial agreement that protects all Hayes family assets. He has no claim to anything. Not the house, not the accounts, nothing. Furthermore, we have documented evidence of his affair and his attempted financial fraud." Marcus stumbled to his feet, reaching for me. "Victoria, please. Let me explain." "Explain what?" I asked, my voice cutting through his panic like ice. "That you researched my family before you even spoke to me? That you spent 4 years pretending to love me while planning to rob me? That every kiss, every promise, every moment was a performance?" Tears were streaming down his face now. Real tears, maybe the first real thing he'd ever shown me. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." "You're sorry you got caught," I corrected, "and now everyone knows exactly who you are." I turned to address the room one final time. "Let this be a lesson. Betrayal always reveals itself, and underestimating someone is the greatest mistake you can make." Then I walked out, head high, leaving Marcus collapsed in his chair, his carefully constructed world shattered around him. The divorce was finalized in record time. Marcus tried to fight it, hired lawyers he couldn't afford, who quickly realized the prenup was airtight. He called, texted, begged. He claimed he'd changed, that he really did love me, that we could start over. But I'd learned my lesson. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Isabella, predictably, vanished the moment Marcus had nothing to offer. The last I heard, he'd moved back in with his mother in Tacoma, working at a different school where no one knew his story yet. But whispers travel. Seattle's circles are smaller than people think. As for me, I moved into my grandmother's estate permanently. I took my rightful place at Hayes Pharmaceuticals, no longer hiding behind consultants and proxies. The first thing I did was establish a foundation in my grandmother's name, funding education programs for underprivileged students. The irony not lost on me. Some mornings, I stand in the library where my grandmother's portrait hangs, and I tell her about what happened. I think she'd be proud. Not because I exposed Marcus, but because I finally stopped hiding, My $1 billion isn't a secret anymore. It's not a burden. It's a tool, a responsibility, and yes, a shield against people like Marcus Rivera. I've learned that love requires trust, but trust must be earned, not assumed. I've learned that wealth doesn't protect you from heartbreak, but self-respect and courage will carry you through it. And I've learned that the sweetest revenge isn't destroying someone. It's becoming so completely yourself that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. So let me ask you, if you discovered that your entire relationship was built on lies, that you were never loved but simply used, would you have the strength to walk away? Or would you try to salvage something already rotten? Because in the end, the only person who can save you is yourself. And I saved myself.